Hello. I'm going to talk about some monetary stuff. I'm going to highlight, especially do the stimulus stuff and some inflation there, and what happened and what's my fear that's going to happen. So with that, the last stimulus was 2.2 trillion. That equaled $8,000 per every man, woman, and child in America. So with that being said, of that, they gave crumbs to those that they deemed should have them to keep people quiet, keep them from resisting, keep them from causing any issues. But when they passed that, on the top, who got the majority of it? The politicians, the banks, the businesses that they deemed that they needed to, because they deemed them as being, necessary or a necessity, whatever that may be. So it could be friends of friends or friends of friends businesses or whatever. That has happened and it's going to continue to happen unless we get out of the system. That's a whole nother thing. But they passed that $2.2 trillion stimulus, and there was talk that this was not finished. This was maybe the first round, but it really was a $6.4 trillion stimulus. So that means there's going to be phases of it, and we got another phase coming. Everything I know tells me there's going to be another phase coming. It's going to be right around the corner. That's all on me saying that. So the first one, it went to the banks, like I said, the politicians. It went to airlines that some maybe should have failed. Some should have claimed bankruptcy, and some should have revamped and cleaned up. It went to car manufacturers. It went to hotels. I'm not sure about if it went to cruise lines too, but I wouldn't say it. It wouldn't surprise me. But anyways, it went to these things that needed to be fixed, needed to be revamped. Some needed to probably go away. Some needed to reinvest in their company and revamp it and make it more operational. But with all this stuff they're getting, that doesn't cause any of that to happen. Doesn't cause stuff to be trimmer, leaner. Doesn't cause people to behave. Doesn't cause businesses to behave. Doesn't cause anything to happen, but makes the problem bigger, larger, and continue to happen. And with that, if there ever is a time that these people need to figure it out and take care of business on their own, or these politicians need to actually know what it's like to have a real job and not just live off the taxpayers, you and I, then maybe something will happen, something will change. But with that being said, if it's a 6.4 trillion, that means they have 4.2 trillion left. Whether that's going to be the next stimulus, whether it's going to be part of the next stimulus for a breakout of phases, whatever it is, I don't know. But I feel strongly that there's going to be another one, and it's going to be soon, right around the corner. With that being said, I know the first one, they were not happy with there not being much spending, not being much velocity in the currency. And there was complaints that I had heard and I've read about them saying people need to get out there and spend this stuff they're getting, spend this money they've gotten from their checks or whatever it was they want to call it. But it wasn't happening, at least to the amount they thought it needed to or should. So they were saying not the nicest things about savers, people putting that money away, not spending it. People who paid down debt was a little less harsh on. The savers were the big ones that they weren't happy about, finding all the people saving. So with that being said, this next one that I feel is coming, my fear is that I have that it's not going to be in check form like some of this last one was. It probably isn't going to be a direct deposit like this last one was. They may get some sort of app on your phone that you have to download to get it. And if you don't have that availability to you, maybe they're going to send out some sort of gift cards with the money on it, whether that is a Visa or American Express backed or something, or maybe it's just the government backed Visa card or the Federal Reserve gift card or whatever you want to call it. Which my fear is there's going to be expiration to these funds, this money. So we'll just say, so this next one, let's say it's going to be $3,000. If it's $3,000 and I'm going to span it over 3 months' time, that means you download this app, you get it the first day that it starts, you got $1,000, of currency in your account. But the catch is you have 29 days to spend it. If you don't spend it within 29 days, it disappears, it goes away. But the next 30th day, you'll get another $1,000 on your card or your app or whatever it is. And if you don't spend that within 29 days, that goes away. They'll do that. My guess is, I don't know, it could be something like this, I'm guessing. They'll do that 3 times if it's a $3,000, a lot amount they feel that you and I or whoever is fit to receive it will get it, but the catch is you'll get $1,000 every month for 3 months, but you have 29 days to spend each $1,000. If you don't, it disappears within that time. That's a guess of mine because that's the way they can sort of force people to spend, not save. I think they would think that's the greatest thing coming, because then it would cause money to be spent on businesses, money to be spent wherever else in the economy. That causes velocity, and that's a good thing in their mind. Saving's a bad thing, and maybe then they'll roll out an even extended one, longer, maybe a 6-month one or whatever the case may be, just to keep this thing going. I call it a Ponzi scheme. It's actually worse than that because there's counterfeiting involved every time the Fed does this, prints or creates digits that's counterfeiting. You and I do it, we'll go to prison for a long amount of time. They do it, it's just helping the economy. That's it. Because the Fed does this. That's the only thing they know to do, is to print money or currency. And the government has no money. The government has nothing. So when they pass these bills and they say you're going to get it from the government, or the government should help you, or the government should do this, the government needs to save this career, this job, this career. This government needs to save this business. The government needs to do this. The government has no money. Zero. No money. They get their money from the taxes from you and I. And I think the biggest part they get their money from is from the hidden tax called inflation. And they say it's a good thing if it's 2% inflation every year. That's a good thing. So after 10 years, you've lost 20% of your spending power in that dollar than you had 10 years prior because of inflation that they want 2% a year, which, in my opinion, they say it's down. It's not where it needs to be. I think it's been about that. My fear is we're going to hit hyperinflation, and that's their dream because they can do whatever they want for this emergency time like they've been doing over the last 5-6 months, but now it's going to be, tenfold. It's going to be even more. So they're going to do this, and they're going to try to force people to spend this stuff. So with that, what would I do, or will I do, my family will do, when this time comes that they pass another bill to try to get out of the system? We will try to spend it as fast as we can. But what we spend it on is assets, gold, silver, land, anything that's going to hold value. We try to spend it on. That way we're out of the system. So when and if hyperinflation happens, or something close to that happens, we don't lose our spending power. We no longer in the dollar, the paper fiat currency system. We are out of that, and we're holding assets that retain their value. So after hyperinflation comes and goes, after whatever happens, if the dollar gets demonetized, by other countries that would, deem it worthless for the most part, except for the people that still use it, need it for the time being, that's still accepted. Then you'll no longer be involved in that system. You're out, you have your assets, and once there's a reset, you can come back into whatever they deem is the necessary currency of the time, but you haven't lost any of your wealth. You haven't lost any of your spending power because you were prepared. We were prepared. We bought gold, silver, we bought land, we bought stuff that is going to be needed and necessary. Another thing to think about that we've thought about is you can spend it on, you can go do some of that food, the stuff that lasts 20, 30 years, like the PAX MREs, they have other names for them. It escapes me right now, but or you could plant the garden. You could put that money towards soil. You can put that money towards hay bales or straw bales, that's what we do. We have straw bale or hay bale garden, and we've had that for multiple years now. I would say 5 years, and it is it's amazing. It's so much nicer than the gardens we used to do with the black dirt and that kind of stuff. The biggest thing I know with the hay bale gardening is weeding. There's no weeds. It makes weeding a thing of the past for the most part. It's unbelievable. It's awesome. There's a little more prep time involved in the beginning, but after that, there's nothing. It's been great. So you can look into that. You could say, well, I wanna make sure we got food. I want to make sure we have this or that. Well, I think you spend some of that money on a garden. Spend some of that money on your soil, your wood that you need to frame it in if you're doing it that way, on tools for it, on seeds. Spend some of it on, if you're going to do a hay bale or straw bale garden, on your bales, on your fertilizer to prep your bales, just anything like that, because then at least you're preparing, you're getting yourself and your family ready just to be prepared for anything to happen. What happens if you're not prepared? Well, then you have to rely on the people that put you in this situation to begin with in the first place. And that is means for disaster. Things will continue to get worse, and they're not going to get better, no matter what they tell you, because they're not in it for you and I. They're in it for themselves, their buddies, the things they deem fit. They're in control. So your best thing to do for yourself is get out of the system. That's what we've done, and we're trying to do the best we can. So with that being said, think about it. I feel it's coming. Think about just trying to get involved, a little step by step if you need to. Maybe it's buying some silver. I got some videos that talk about what kind of silver, ounces, that kind of stuff. Fractional gold's out there. Land, if you know someone, you can go in with someone to buy some land. Maybe 10 people get together and they say, hey, we're going to get $1,000 a month for 3 months. Well, let's put all this together and let's work at it. So every month we have $10,000 to do something with, whether it's a land investment or it's a property investment or whatever. I'm not saying that that's going to happen with the next stimulus package or bill, but my gut tells me something like that's going to happen. And even more so, my gut tells me that they don't want to do the same thing they did, because people saved it, and they don't want that. They want people out there spending. They want velocity of this stuff. So maybe it'll be some sort of thing like that. Maybe not, but this is just what I'm thinking. So I'm just trying to get people aware of what they can do to at least prepare for themselves and their families to stay protected. So with that being said, thank you for watching. Stay vigilant, protect your health, and protect your wealth.